Welcome back to the Professional Hate Watchers Association. We are just an hour removed from the conclusion of the NBA Finals and the 2024-25 NBA season. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and I'm here with Daniel Palmore. It's just the two of us today because it's this urgent. I have a lot to say. I know you have a lot to say.
Got a lot to say.
Let's just get right into this because the Oklahoma City Thunder have taken home, you made it clear, their second title. And the broadcasters made it clear it was the first title in the OKC era. That was the phrasing, by the way. That was so interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get right into it, though. That's their first. The Oklahoma City wins in 7, 103-91. What was your instant takeaway from the game?
Well, Ethan, before I get into my takeaways from the game, I just want to say we made it. We made it through the NBA season. I remember when we first started this pod, maybe it was we did it in September, so like a month before the season started.
Mm-hmm.
And it played out kind of how everyone thought it would for the most part. I mean, the Thunder were the best team all year long, so they were the most deserving of the championship. We on this pod like to throw that word around a lot, like who deserved to win the championship. If you want to look at it from that perspective, it was definitely the Thunder. I mean, 68 games won in the regular season. They had the MVP of the league, the leading scorer in the league. We saw in the second half of Game 7 why the Thunder were so good. It's not just because of Shea, but because their defense was absolutely suffocating all year long, and it carried over to the postseason. And I mean, it sucks seeing Tyrese Haliburton get injured. But yeah, I mean, the series didn't play out the way I thought it would. I had Pacers in 7. Sucks seeing Tyrese Haliburton get injured, but yeah, we can dive a little more into it.
So let's talk about that because obviously the elephant in the room. What's crazy is that, I mean, it's not that I'm saying it's not deserving of it, but Tyrese Haliburton's injury almost takes away from the fact that the Thunder won this game. Now, You can look at the people who will say Tyrese Haliburton doesn't get hurt in that first quarter because he was on fire. He made 3 out of 4 from beyond the arc to start this game, which even for him is unorthodox. And we've seen this man hate pretty much every shot in the books in these playoffs. So with all of that, I don't want to call it unfortunate, but it is fascinating to see that even outside of just the regular, conversations about, if so-and-so didn't get hurt, they win this game. That injury has been taken away, I feel like, from the immediate discourse about the Thunder winning this title. You can feel any certain way about how that makes you feel or whether or not that should be right. That's right or not. But my biggest thing is that you just got to feel so bad for the man.
Yeah.
The man did everything, literally everything. He went from winning games, scoring 34 points, double-digit assists, no turnovers, hit every goofy shot you could think of.
Right.
And it goes out like that. Like, I'm not trying to point the finger at Devil Magic because I'm not going to do it. This is a serious thing. I know we had that bit running all year, especially in these playoffs. But it's almost like somebody came to collect their dues. The timing of it, the severity of it, we don't know the severity of it yet. All they've confirmed is that it is an Achilles injury. But we saw that pop. We know what that is.
Yeah.
We don't know the severity of it confirmed yet. We'll probably get that tomorrow. But the timing of it all is just so you couldn't write, similar to how you can't write a story certain times where it's such a happier ending. You couldn't write a better finish. You couldn't write a worse finish.
A more heartbreaking ending to the season for the Pacers.
You are 3 quarters away from hoisting your first title in your second finals appearance in 25 years.
Yeah.
And it goes out like that. It's so unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I'm happy for the Thunder. Here's the thing. You're going to hear everybody. And let me just get on let me get on my soapbox really quickly.
Yeah.
Because when I think about the conversations about, so-and-so didn't get hurt, then this team would have won instead of the other team. We're already seeing it. It happens every year. But I think you and I can come to an agreement here when I say you need a little bit of that luck to bounce your way to win a title. You can point the finger at any NBA champion, any sports champion for that matter, who needs even just a little bit of luck to bounce their way. Now, whether that comes in form of an injury, a controversial call, I feel like it goes around and it comes back around. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority there.
Yeah, I don't know. And if you look, what's so interesting to me is how this injury sort of evolved throughout the course of the series, because initially it was reported as him having some sort of ankle issue. I can't remember if this was after game 1 or game 2, but it was definitely before the series shifted to Indiana for game 3. So it was 1-1 or 1-0 Pacers. And then they said it was a calf strain. And right as soon as they said that, like, in my head as a basketball fan, like, we're not both Warriors fans, but we're both very familiar with Warriors basketball because we're from the Bay Area. Whenever I hear a calf strain for any player, I instantly just think that ain't no calf strain. Like, something's wrong with his Achilles. Something's wrong with their Achilles. Because I remember, and so do you, and so do all basketball fans, when Kevin Durant had a calf strain in the 2019 playoffs against the Rockets. His calf was hurting him, and they sat him for like 3 or 4 games. The Warriors were still able to get out of that series. And then as soon as he came back in the first quarter, just like Tyrese Haliburton did tonight, like, I mean, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, right? Like, that's something that we say.
It does rhyme.
He snaps his Achilles in the first quarter. He snaps his Achilles in the first quarter after he's thoroughly dominating the game. And it looks like, oh my gosh, the Pacers are about to do the unbeatable and win a game 7. So from that perspective, I'm not going to say I wasn't surprised, because I'm not going to sit here and analyze an injury. But like, when you saw the video, we all know, we're all expecting the worst, that it's going to be an Achilles tear. I mean, we've already had 2 of them to 2 other big name players, Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum. So I'm expecting the worst. I think he tore his Achilles, so I'm sure he'll have like immediate surgery and then start rehabbing it like as soon as possible. But yeah, no, it's just, it absolutely sucks, and it's gut-wrenching, because when you think about it, if you're a Pacers fan, you're like, we definitely could have won that game, because it was a 1-point game at halftime, even after Haliburton got hurt. And then even though Ben Mathurin did nothing in the third quarter, 0 points, he kept them in the game along with TJ McConnell. Can't forget about TJ McConnell in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it absolutely sucks. Like, yes, the Pacers have been getting bailed out, I would say, all throughout these playoffs, but I don't know. Your best player getting hurt in Game 7 of the Finals. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Not even the Heat, not even Heat fans. I don't think I would wish that on Heat fans. Like, dude, that sucks.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But are you saying that? Are you trying to make a low ball attempt to discredit the Thunder championship because Tyrese Haliburton got hurt?
No, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I think this series played out like most people thought it would. I thought the Pacers were going to win. I thought at times they looked like the better team, but just because Tyrese Haliburton got hurt, who's to say that even if he gets off to a hot start, who's to say he doesn't cool off and the Thunder do exactly what they did in this game and still win the game? I'm not trying to discredit the Thunder winning the championship, but I don't know. It's like I don't know. Like,
it's just unfortunate, because the series has been good so far. Now, I put on my hater of small market teams in the finals hat for this, but I can't deny it was a great series. Aside from, ironically, 2 of the games that Oklahoma City won, which were blowouts, games 2 and 5, this and game 6 kind of, but like half of this, like, it was great. It was great basketball. So I agree. It's unfortunate that it had to come to this, because this series deserved a better ending, in my personal opinion.
If you think about it, the Pacers really lost this series in Game 4 when they had a chance to go up 3-1 on OKC. They were up 10 going into the fourth quarter, and they blew the game. Because if they went up 3-1 on the Thunder, they were not going to lose that series. Like, absolutely no way. They were going to win one of the next 2 games. So
yeah, no. I'll agree with you there, and I was rooting for the Thunder. I will say something though that I noticed while we were watching. For those who don't know, we were watching it together. It was a couple of us and some friends. Even when the Thunder were up by double, the Thunder never went down by more than single digits in that, after they gained a double-digit lead in that second half. And yet in that fourth quarter, while the Thunder, I believe, were up 11, 12, 13 points, we still felt kind of nervous, because we're like, the Thunder aren't, the Pacers aren't going away. And one of our friends that was here, he said, you wouldn't feel this way about any other team if that was in this position. And I kind of agreed. I was like, with 5 minutes left and I'm still down by 13, I don't know if I would feel as uncomfortable or hesitant about a team having that lead against any other team other than the Pacers.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if you can really just chalk it up to, oh, they just play hard and don't give up. They play to the final buzzer, because in a way it almost feels like it kind of discredits what they've been able to do throughout the playoffs, because they've done it multiple times, coming back from what seemed like insurmountable leads with 5 minutes left in the game. Obviously, my team started this trend. Like the Bucks are trendsetters in this way. Down 8 with 30 seconds left in overtime, and the Pacers go on an 8-0 run, and Hallie hits the game winner on Giannis. And then I thought that was the end of it. Like, I thought the Bucks just had the most embarrassing playoff loss ever. But then, no, they did the same thing to the Cavs. And I think game 2 of the next round, and then game 1 against the Knicks, and game 1 against the Thunder. And then it's like, what was it? Like 93-81, something like that, with like 5 minutes left. OKC's going kind of cold. Indy goes on a 11-1 run, I think, because the Thunder were up 22, and then they cut the deficit in half with like 5-6 minutes left. So then you start thinking, are they about to come back and win this game? But luckily for OKC, they were able to hang on. But I just think, I don't know, man. Like, I think something can be done. Like, obviously injuries are injuries, but I think something has to change in terms of
let's talk about this.
How NBA players feel going into the playoffs. Because yes, in an 82-game season in professional sports, nobody's going to be 100% healthy going into the playoffs. So that's an unrealistic expectation. But you can do something to where 3 superstar all NBA type players don't tear their Achilles in the same postseason. Like, that's,
have we ever seen anything like
unheard? This? It's unheard of. Like, I don't know how that happens. My initial reaction is, I think the NBA, I've been saying for the longest time that they should get rid of back-to-backs, because I think that the way the NBA is played nowadays, how up and down it is, doing that 2 nights in a row, running up and down the court like that, and over the course of an 82-game regular season, I think that's just entirely too taxing. Something that actually popped into my head, I don't know if the NBA could do this or if it's realistic, but like, I don't see why they can't. So obviously in baseball, you play series during the regular season where you play 3 games in a row against the same team, 3 or 4 games in a row. Like, why can't they do that in the NBA? Because it would eliminate travel concerns. You can spread the games out a little bit. I just think that's something that's an idea that the NBA could consider to like just lessen the toll that all these players take on their body.
I actually think that's a good idea. I'd never thought about that, actually. So look at you coming up with, bright ideas. But my one critique of that, and I think this is probably the critique in the office and corporate America, Adam Silver, is that if the Warriors were to play the Lakers for one series, like, because they play each other 4 times because they're division opponents. Yeah. If the Warriors were to play the Lakers 4 times in one stretch in like a week, that doesn't make any sense for the NBA in terms of marketability, because
that's like, a fair point.
Oh, the Warriors are playing the Lakers. Oh, but they're playing them January 2nd to like January 10th. True. It's like, oh, okay, then it's like we lock in there, but then I don't really care about the rest of the Warriors games unless they're playing, like the Thunder maybe or the Wolves again. So there's a huge spotlight because then everybody's paying attention, but it's almost like I feel like they would suffer from the law of diminishing returns. This is what baseball suffers from right now. Now, obviously, it's a way longer season, more than it's double. So it's a little bit different in terms of value of each game, if you will. But I feel like if the Warriors Lakers, for example, especially this coming year, where like theoretically, let's say like if this is Braun's last year, the Warriors play the Lakers 4 times in a row. They do 2 they do 2 at Chase. They do 2 at Crypto. It's like, oh, by the 3rd one, you're like they played each other twice already. Yeah. It's like, and then you bring attention back to the 4th one because it's the last one. But like, you're like, oh, like, I don't know. I think that's the main critique, because I actually do think that's a good idea. If the Warriors, again, Warrior Central here. If the Warriors can minimize their trips, like let's say their East Coast road trip is over, like let's just say it's like a month, and they're playing all the Atlantic Division teams, but they play them over series. I think that's a good idea, and you only have to play them twice. Yeah. So and you could rotate. I think there's a way to do it, especially if you can like alternate. Like it's like you play the Atlantic team, you play 2 games for the Atlantic team, one season both times there. The next year they have to come to you both times. Like I think there's a way to do it. I just don't think they would probably view it from a profitability sense, and that it's like, oh, if we have the Warriors play the Lakers 4 times, or we have the Wolves play the Thunder 4 times because they're also division opponents, it just doesn't. You just mark your calendar for like a week, and everybody pops in, and then it's gone. Like I can like be as a you can book this too. Whenever the Bucks play Boston or whenever they play Philly, it's like, oh, they're playing them in November, January, and March. It's like I have those circled. I know when they're coming. Whereas if it's like, oh, we play them December 29th through January 2nd, it's like, okay, like cool. Yeah. There's still games we got to win, but now it's not like I don't know. I think it changes the impact.
Somehow. No, I see what you're saying. And then I guess if you also want to stay on that, keep it on that perspective. If you do play like a Bucks versus Boston or a Warriors versus Lakers, the only time, and that series takes place at the beginning of the season, for example, you won't play that team again unless you meet them in the playoffs at that point. So it's like you won't get those star matchups spread out throughout the season. So I do see the other side of the coin. I also think it's just the play style of the NBA nowadays. I think it's just too sporadic. It's so up and down. There isn't really like a true like half court feel. Like early 2000s, like even like just prior to like 2015, like before analytics like really took off, I feel like the NBA was like very much a half court game. Like guys who were mid-range players. This is why like everybody calls like Shea like the next Kobe or like a Kobe disciple, even though I don't think it's fair to compare those two players. I think both of them are their own players in their own right. But the reason why everybody's so infatuated with Shea, and kind of like when Kawhi Leonard was at his peak and he won that championship with the Raptors, is because they weren't guys who thrived off the three-pointer like a lot of the other guards and forwards in today's NBA. They like to operate in the mid-range. That's where they feel the most comfortable. And analytics will tell you, the stat nerds, as some people like to say, will tell you that the analytics shot is the worst shot in basketball. And that's a shot that they've made a living off of. And so I think if the league were to sort of like go back to a style where the mid-range was more appreciated, like the half-court game was more appreciated, just like slow things down, I think that would significantly lower the amount of like injuries you would see in the postseason, because guys wouldn't feel as taxed going in. And if you look at these Achilles injuries, all of them are the same. It's 3 guys like Tatum, Haliburton, and Dame. All of them are the same. It's like a movement they make 1,000 times, like they do it 1,000,000 times in a season. It's a regular movement. They like put their foot too far back, and then it just gives out. Like that's just not natural. Like a movement they do 1,000 times, they do it the same way every time, and then the one time they happen to do it, their Achilles gives out. Like that's just, I don't know. I think it's very preventable, like that type of injury.
I'm going to open a can of worms that he's not even here to defend or to bring up his argument. But as we know previously, mythical character Eck, who's not even here still, he'll show up eventually, I promise you, loyal viewers. He's advocated for eliminating the All-Star game and shortening the season. I believe he said to 70 games.
I think he said 60 games.
60 games. So I'm a reject modernity, embrace tradition type of guy. But I will acknowledge that it is getting kind of to a point where the NBA has never been like this ever. And so you might need to embrace some radical changes like that. My question is, are you someone who would advocate for a reduction of regular season games?
I would be very open to them shortening the season, especially if they change when the season starts. If they were to decide, hey, we're going to start the season on Christmas Day or like around Christmas time, so that way they don't have to compete as much with the NFL season. I think that's it gives them the perfect opportunity to experience shortening the season to even like 10 less games like they did in the 2021 when it was 72 games and the season started like a week before Christmas, like that type of thing. And then the finals end in like July.
So are you advocating for a change of the start time too? Because I feel like if you would really have to cut the schedule down if you wanted to start it in like the end of December and you still want to do away with back-to-backs. I would imagine that's your priority here, because I think that's the original cause of like what these injuries. Like obviously you play fewer games, that helps too. I would feel like me personally, ironically, this kind of goes against both things which you just said. I would support starting the season earlier if it means, because we had this conversation like within the last 10 years when they moved the starting time up. I remember the NBA used to start in my youth around Halloween, like October 27th, 28th, and they moved it up by like 10, 11 days.
Yeah.
So we've done this already to where it's like it reduces back. I think it got rid of 4 games in 5 nights. I think, is that what
something
that did?
Like that,
something like that. So like the NBA has done this relatively recently where they can do this. I think, why not do it again? Now I know you got to compete with a league that owns a day of the week. Technically now 2 or 3 of them at this point.
Yeah.
But like I don't think that if Adam Silver, I'll say this, if Adam Silver is really going to advocate for player safety, which he seems like someone who would. He seems like a, honest guy, totally not selling out to corporate America. But if he cares about the player safety, he'll at least consider this, and he will make some semblance of a change to enjoy. He has no issue with changing the All-Star game and the format there on All-Star weekend. So I don't see why he would have any issue. He would take any issue with changing how the schedule works for the sake of player safety. I think this year especially, if the Kevin Durant injury seems like an omen now for everything that we've seen since. Yeah. Because especially this year was the culmination. I feel like we're finally going to have those dialogues where it's, okay, we need to do something because we just can't have 3 of our stars in the league and one of them who's, trying to be the face of the league, the Green Gooner. We can't have these guys get hurt in such crucial games. Like, who knows if the Bucks lose the series in that many games or even lose the series, period, if Dame Lillard doesn't go down. We just saw it today. Or in Jason Tatum a couple months ago. At this point, you're now opening the door for too much dialogue about the outcome of your series. It's no longer the best players on the best teams competing against each other like the playoffs should. Because now you got to have TJ McConnell, no disrespect, trying to get your team out of the hole that you're in because your star player got hurt. His Achilles blew up 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's hurting the product. And unfortunately, I hate that it sounds like this, but now that it's hurting the product, which means the bottom line, that is now something that will really get them to incite change. They can't have Jason Tatum get hurt because now Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Haliburton aren't going to be ready for the start of next season. They probably won't play until 2026.
Yeah.
That's 3 cornerstones of your league gone for a portion of your year next year.
Yeah.
That's affecting ticket sales. That's affecting seats, people's butts in seats. That's not what they want. And therefore it's affecting your bottom line. I'm off my high horse now. I think the change is finally coming.
Yeah. I think the only, again, just to I always look at the other side of the coin just because that's what you have to do. I feel like the only problem the NBA would the only problem that they would run into with starting this season in December around Christmas and then having it go through the summer is every 4 years, when the Olympics roll around and Team USA has to get ready for basketball. That's the only issue I would see them having. I don't know how they would navigate around that. Does the WNBA already? They already run into that issue, right? Because
the WNBA goes on an Olympic break, so there is a period of time where they just take a timeout because their best players play for Team USA, and then their other best players go to play for France, for the UK, for all the other countries. So they do an Olympic break. The problem is that that's right smack in their season. That's their playoffs are in September, October. So they come back.
It's cutting it close for the NBA.
You're theoretical. Think about it like this right now. The finals end around mid-June. It went late this year, but it goes to mid-June-ish. That's a less than a month turnaround before they got to be in another country, sometimes halfway across the world, playing for their country. So I think that, especially when you got when it's the damn unction with Steph, KD, Braun, and Embiid, I guess he's got the body.
My favorite American, Joel Embiid.
Hey, respect, man. You make the decision that you want to do. But again, I think if they're going to do something, they're going to extend the season the opposite way. I think they'd rather run competing with the NFL for 2 more weeks or even just 10 more days because they don't want to deal with that inevitable issue of, oh my God, what do we do when the Olympics come back? Especially this upcoming Olympic cycle that's in the United States.
Yeah.
So
and a very pivotal Olympics for USA basketball, because we imagine that Steph, KD, and LeBron are not going to participate because two out of the three of those guys, or maybe all three, I don't know about all three, might not even be playing in the NBA anymore because they might all be retired. So, yeah, I think the most realistic change, and something that doesn't even have to be enforced by the league, it's just a matter of how the teams want to play. Just switch it up. Like, you don't need to be shooting 50, 60 3-pointers a game, running up and down.
Though. Like, that's just the trends of the league. And I don't know if for that to switch, we would have to see a regression, not even a regression, a change of play style just as radical that what got us to here in the first place. Like, the spike in threes from like 2018 onward, like, was drastic. We would need to see something nearly as drastic, if not more, that would bring us back to a level that changes that. I think if anything, and again, it's like, oh, more threes equals more points. Not always, this we know.
Yeah.
Ask the Houston Rockets, but we're going to get to them in a second. But I think that you can't bank on that change come. You can't sit these players down and be like, hey, you got to like change your play style, because this is all they know. All these players coming up now and for the foreseeable future, that's all they know at this point. That's what they're taught in AAU. That's what they're taught when they turn on the TV and they see their favorite players. Nobody's to blame, but there's nothing I see that can change that. The only thing that really could change, if we're still talking about player safety here, is just altering the schedule. I can't see them cutting down on games, also because I'm not letting Eck have that one. But I could see them extending the quote-unquote time frame and how long the season lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought, and no, I'm not just saying this just because the Bucks happened to win the championship this year. I want to preface my comments. I don't know, a 72-game season that started in December that ended at like middle of July, like that wasn't too terrible. Like, I know that was the circumstances obviously were forced them to do that, but that's something that I think they should consider. I think there's just too many games. There's too much travel. Like it's so up and down. Like so many things contribute to these injuries. And if the play style is not going to change, then I honestly don't see the injuries in the playoffs changing either. Because nowadays it's literally just about, it's not even about who's the best team anymore. It's who's the healthiest team left. And at the end of the day, the Thunder were the healthiest team left, and they're the ones that won the championship. Because if you look at, if
they were the best team as well.
Exactly. Yeah, but like the best team doesn't always win. And we know like the last 2 years that's been the case, because the Celtics were definitely the best team last year and the Thunder were definitely the best team this year. But the best team doesn't always win. And even the Thunder were able to they were healthy throughout the entire playoffs. And if you look at their run, I'm not trying to be that guy, but if you look at their run,
don't do this.
Let's start with I've said before, the Thunder Grizzlies series was the first series ever that felt like a bye week or like a series off.
Mind you, they came back from 20+ in one game.
John Morant was injured. If you look at the next round, the Nuggets series, Michael Porter Jr., he was literally playing with one shoulder. Aaron Gordon, Oakland Soldier Aaron Gordon was playing on one leg in Game 7. And then conference finals, yes, Father of the Year Anthony Edwards and Father of the Year Rudy Gobert. They blew that series. I have no excuse for the Timberwolves. They get on my nerves. I don't really want to talk about it.
You know what people were saying is that maybe the Timberwolves shouldn't have even been there if Stephen Curry didn't get hurt.
Exactly. So it's literally just about who's the healthiest team left. And that's going to be the case until something changes. And I think the easiest thing you can change is the play style, because what that will do is it will make the regular season games matter more. Like teams will play defense. Like teams will be engaged. You won't see. I don't have a problem with it because I love basketball. People who love basketball are never going to stop watching basketball. But I can see why, as a fan, you don't want to watch a 151 to 148 regular season game, because the points don't matter. It doesn't feel sacred like scoring in other
Bulls
sports
versus Pistons.
Exactly, like when you score a touchdown in football, or you score a goal in soccer, or you get a run in baseball. I think the play style is the easiest thing you can change.
My thing, I would argue it's the hardest, because that, like, you can't. You would need a player who instills that change. Can
it be Shea? Can it be Shea?
I don't think so. I really don't think so, because He's one guy in an era where everybody else grew up around Stephen Curry. Shea's an anomaly, which is ironic because you watched the same game as me. You saw him chucking up those threes in that fourth quarter.
Yeah,
like you saw that. You saw that, and the man ended with he took 12 threes. That's Steph Curry numbers.
If anything, it just shows like how it's even more of a credit to Shea that this guy, he's gonna live and die by his mid-range. Because if you look at his three-point shooting in this series was not good. 2 of 12 from 3 this game. Last game he was 0 for 1 in game 6, 0 for 3 the previous game, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 1 for 4. And then the best game he shot was game 1 when he had 38 and he went 3 for 6 from 3. I don't like. Maybe Shea is not going to be a trendsetter, but I think teams should look at what he did in these playoffs and be like, if our best player is going to win with the mid, like, why can't Jason Tatum do the same thing that Shea did? Like, because Jason Tatum's bag runs deep.
Stephen Curry.
I know, but I think you can sit a guy like Jason Tatum down and show him like, hey, this guy just won a championship dominating with the mid-range. You can shoot the ball from anywhere. Why not just embrace your mid-range game more and stop chucking up all these threes, running up and down? I think if the play style changes, I think that's the easiest and best way to get fans more engaged and make sure that more people are healthy for the playoffs.
Well, if it's going to happen, it's not going to be because of Jason Tatum, because he got hurt. Ironically, the season, the playoffs that had the most injury riddled out of all of them in terms of superstars and best play, like cornerstone players, was the one that led to the best team winning the championship. My pushback on what you said earlier is that you said the Thunder won the title. I mean, you said they were the best team, but they were also the healthiest team. I feel like that those go hand in hand because the best team is usually the one that has the deepest bench, the best starters. So it's like the most talent holistically on that team. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it kind of seems like it's redundant. But anyway, we're talking about all these changes. We're dragging on about this. Let's talk about a change that we do know is happening, and that is Kevin Durant is going to be playing for the Houston Rockets. Can I start? I want to start by saying that I think Houston needs a uniform change now. They're entering a new era. Their next chapter. KD's next chapter as well, but Houston's next chapter. Don't bring back the rocket ship jerseys, please don't. The package is Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and a first-round pick, correct?
This year's first round pick, and then 5 second-round picks.
5 second. Oh my goodness.
5 second-round picks.
Okay. Well, I mean, I woke up to this message. I went out to brunch with some good friends.
So did I. I literally woke up 2 text messages about KD getting traded to the Rockets today. That was my alarm this morning.
What was your instant reaction to that?
So my reaction was, I don't get how people can say that the Rockets did not absolutely win this trade. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think they were basically able to solve all of their half-court scoring issues without giving up their most valuable pieces. Alperen Sengun is like a baby Jokic at this point in his career. He's going to be one of the best bigs in the league one day. Amen Thompson, everybody thinks he's going to be one of the best two-way players in the league one day.
The alleged Curry stopper.
You didn't have to give up Fred VanVleet, and then you traded Jalen Green, who, let's just be honest, the truth is he was just a shot chucker. Like, he was not doing anything meaningful in a Rockets jersey.
You know what's really unfortunate? What's really unfortunate is that
they got to keep Jabari Smith too. They got to keep him. They got rid of
Dylan Crooks.
Exactly.
I'll say this. You know what's unfortunate? Not for the Rockets, actually. I think this actually helped them make the decision. But for Jalen Green, is that for anybody, like the Houston Rockets weren't on national TV a lot this year. So you just heard about this team that was led by a former NBA champ, had a guy that they called Baby Jokic, and they were shooting their way up to second place in the standings, in the West standings. Yeah. And then when everybody's eyes were on them in that series against the Warriors, they were like the unction versus the New Bloods. Jalen Green played probably one of the worst series in these playoffs. He had one great game where I believe he scored 30.
I think it was like almost like 37 or something.
Yeah, he had a great one game, which drove his averages up. But if you look at the shooting splits, they were atrocious.
Yeah.
It showed the world, and most importantly, the Rockets front office, who he really is at this point in his career. And they don't have time to continue to develop him. They're developing Thompson. They're developing Jabari Smith still. They got Shangu. Like they got. Unfortunately, Jalen Green fell to the bottom of the totem pole, and you got to cut off the bottom to make room for the new head on top. So it's unfortunate for him because I feel like he's now going to fade into irrelevancy. What's he going to do in Phoenix?
Probably get traded.
Like the same player.
Probably get traded. Probably get traded again.
And he's a bigger fan of Josh Christopher.
That's the only
difference.
They'll probably. My guess is the Suns will try to trade Jalen Green and get whatever they can get for him because unfortunately for them, and formally unfortunately for Tony, they can't trade Bradley Beal because he holds all the power with his
Osama bin Laden
with his no trade clause. And I'm sorry, I'm not draft picks in the NBA for contenders. I never really felt matter as much.
They don't
versus a sport like especially like a young team like the Rockets. Like, yeah, I know the CBA exists and that they're not going to be able to keep all of these guys on the same team, all those young guys, depending on who they want to keep. But like, I'm sorry, if you have a guy in Jalen Green who's proven he's nothing but inconsistent, and all you have to do is basically give up him and some second round picks for KD, like, dude. Second round picks, they're airing Taco Bell commercials during the second round of the draft while the selections are being made. The best player in the league, according to some, not me, I never said he was, the best player in the league, Nikola Jokic, was literally drafted during a Taco Bell commercial on TV. Like, if you weren't watching, you would not have known that he got drafted. So miss me with all the hype around how many draft picks they gave up. I don't care about draft picks. And the only thing that draft picks are valuable for is using them for trades. If you're a contender, if you're a team that's rebuilding, then yes, like keep your draft picks, try and hit and try and see if you can draft a star or two. But if you're a contender, this is why like even we can maybe dive into this too if we want to a little bit. The Desmond Bane to the Magic trade. Yes, I think Orlando overpaid. But I don't have a problem with them trading first-round draft picks to get Desmond Bane, who I think is an upgrade over KCP, because the Magic were really, really good this year. Top 3 seed in the East for like what felt like almost the first 2 months of the season, and then all of their players' bodies just stopped working. They all got injured.
Dropped like flies.
And then, so like I think the Magic, I don't see any reason why the Magic next year, if they stay healthy, can't do. And I don't want to get too off topic because I know we're talking about KD. Like, why can't they do exactly what the Pacers did this year? I think they have all the pieces to do something really, really special next year. And I think they have a best play. Like, Paolo Banchero, I've said before, I'm really high on him. If he continues to develop, I don't see why Orlando can't do something special in the East next year, especially considering it's wide open. Like, I mean, wide open next year.
Yeah. I mean, two playoff teams just suffered devastating injuries to their stars, and the Bucks, they don't even know if they're going to have their other star. We're going to get to that in a second, though, because I want to spin back to the Rockets. You're talking about contenders trade not needing their draft picks. Does this make Houston a contender in the Western Conference now, more than they were last year?
So they were the 2 seed in the West last year. I think they can be easily a top 4 seed again next year, because you got to look at the Thunder, you got to look at the Nuggets, obviously with Jokic. The Lakers, if Luka Doncic puts down the beer, the hookah, and the donuts, and wants to get in shape for next year, yes, I think the Rockets are a contender, because when you look at the Clippers, I can't believe how much faith I had in the Clippers. I'm done trusting the Clippers. The Timberwolves, I honestly don't know, like, because I think they had a perfect chance the last 2 years to go to the finals, and they just laid eggs in the conference finals. The Warriors, I have no idea. Are the Grizzlies rebuilding? I honestly don't know what they're thinking, what they're doing. So yes, the Rockets are a contender next year, because if they solved what their main issue was. They have all the defensive pieces, and they just needed a guy to get you buckets when the game gets tight. They have that now. I think it's a great. I think it's a great fit, and I know Ime Udoka, not the relationship respecter, famous respecter of monogamous relationships. Ime Udoka. I still think he's the best coach in the league. Like, I don't care what anybody says. He might not be that great of a person. I think he's the best coach in the league, and he knows how to coach.
Called separating the art from the artist.
And now he has Kevin Durant on his team. So yeah, why not? The Rockets are a contender. Are they better than the Thunder? No. Are they better than the Lakers? Not exactly sure. Denver, I don't know. I think they're in that top 4 range. So yeah, they're a contender.
I'll go as right now what this Lakers roster looks like. I think they're better than the Lakers. I can go out and say that.
LeBron and friends with
Luka Doncic. Yeah. Who's playing 5 for him? Jackson Hayes.
Stop playing, boy. The Lakers need a center.
Like the Lakers still have a bunch of questions, and we're going to get them answered within the next month or two because of the off season. But like right now on paper, I think the Rockets could be like a top 3 team.
Are they where they finished this year? Do you think they're the second best team in the West right now?
They could very well finish second in the Western Conference. Yeah. I really think they could, because I agree with what you said in that unless we notice any crazy regression from like Amen Thompson, but like Şengün is on the come up. He might be. I know I was talking about Victor Wembanyama being the top 3 MVP candidate. I'm not going to call Şengün an MVP candidate. I'm not going to say that. All I'm going to say is I wouldn't be surprised. If we're having a very interesting dialogue in about mid-January where we're like, why is this dude on the ladder? And he'd probably be ahead of Giannis, by the way, just because that's how the NBA works. So I think right now, which pains me to say, because the Rockets are so annoying. Like, as a Warriors fan, again, I left the unbiased stuff out the window. I'm the most objective person here, except for right now. But they're so annoying. But this is their pay. You know what? This is what they get for sacrificing themselves for the 27 straight missed threes. Now you get certified buckets with Kevin Durant. I don't anticipate any, noticeable regression with him. And I know Tony is praying every night that this doesn't happen. But yeah, like right now as it stands, it's a really good team. Like you can't you're gonna trot out a team that's presumably gonna be a starting 5 of Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Şengün. That's a top 5 starting 5 in the NBA. I would go
definitely.
So like I wouldn't be now. That's actually before we move on to the next bit. Is there any level of a finish that this team would have that would make it a disappointment?
Conference, like anything before conference finals, I'd say. If they
they don't make it to the conference. So they may not finish as a top 2 team in the standings, but they should be one of the last 2 teams standing in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take that next step. You went to Game 7 in the first round this year. You won 52 games in the regular season. You're adding Kevin Durant. Like, I don't think it's crazy to think that you should be expected to at least make the conference finals with that team.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. I mean, we haven't seen Kevin Durant in the second round since like 2021. So
2021, yeah. Or 22. He won 1 playoff series with the Suns. They beat the Clippers.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah.
They lost to Denver in round 2. But, yeah, I mean, the Rockets are going to be nice. That's the first domino to fall of the offseason.
They just can't play Stephen Curry in the playoffs again. They have to avoid. I would, if me personally, if I was Rockets, if I was Ime Udoka, I'd tank to avoid Stephen Curry. But that's just me, though. But you're talking about dominoes falling. There's obviously a lot of players that we're waiting to see. Another one who we haven't seen, there hasn't been any public demand about, this player is getting traded or is requested a trade. But we're curious to see where Giannis is going to go now. Not that Houston was an option in all these hypotheticals, but given how many assets they have and all the draft picks that they have, there was a dialogue, and by dialogue I mean threads on Twitter. So, but as our resident Bucks correspondent, what do you think this means for the Giannis sweepstakes? If it means maybe he goes somewhere else, or if he leaves Milwaukee at all?
That's a perfect way to describe my affiliation with the Bucks, because I'm a Giannis fan. I'm taking a break from claiming the Bucks because I'm tired of seeing my favorite player lose in the first round every single year. Like 3 straight first round exits has done irreparable damage to my soul. I can't take it anymore. I selfishly, as a fan, I want him to leave and go somewhere else. But now, as I put my objective basketball analyst hat on, something I'm very, very good at, I can see why Milwaukee, for the obvious reasons why they wouldn't want to trade him, because they'd be irrelevant without him, and they know what that was like. They almost moved the team out of Milwaukee before they drafted him. That's how bad the Bucks were without him. That's how irrelevant they were. They were on the verge of losing their team. So that's the obvious reason why you don't want to trade him. But I mentioned it earlier. If you look at what the Eastern Conference is going to look like next year, there's a scenario where I can see if the Bucks can find some way to retool the roster a little bit around Giannis. Like convince somebody, just anybody to take Kyle Kuzma. Brook Lopez is probably going to walk, so you can probably get a more athletic, or you play Giannis at the 5, or you play Jericho Sims at the 5, whichever one you want to choose. Get a new point guard in there. Like the landscape of the Eastern Conference is so wide open. The Bucks are probably banking on the fact that we have we'll by far have the best player in the conference healthy for next season. And we're just going to see if he can put us on his back and make another run until Dame either comes back like late next season or he comes back for the start of the 26-27 season. And another reason why the Bucks just won't trade Giannis is because they're not going to think that they can get any package that is like worth it for them to do that. Because we saw what the Magic got or gave up to get Desmond Bane. We saw what the Rockets gave up to get KD. Like, I think if you offered both of those trades to the Bucks, 4 first-round picks and 2 players, and then 2 players, 1 first-round pick, 5 seconds, I don't think they're going to take those offers for Giannis, a guy who's 30 years old, smack dab in the middle of his prime. So I think in terms of dominoes, I don't think this domino is going to fall. I think Giannis is staying. He's staying right there in Milwaukee because the Bucks aren't going to want to trade him, and deep down, I don't think he wants to leave. I think he's going to stay there.
So it's interesting you talk about retooling the roster that, however that looks. Here's some notable free agents that, like LeBron's a free agent, but like we know about that. Harden is technically a free agent, but he has a player option. Here are some players that you could really see potentially moving. Naz Reid's one of them.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey, everyone, Fred VanVleet is a player option, but I doubt he's leaving anywhere. John Collins, Jonathan Kuminga has been whispered to be in trade rumors. Yeah. Not necessarily for Giannis, but he's a restricted free agent, so he could just walk entirely. Right. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Malik Beasley, Kelly Oubre, Cam Thomas, and then obviously Bobby Portis is a free agent. Karis LeVert, haven't heard from him in a while. Quentin Grimes, if you get the player that played the Warriors on that random weekend.
Yeah. If you get post trade deadline Quentin Grimes to join your team, then you might be able to make some noise.
Yeah. So there's a couple of players that D'Angelo Russell's a free agent.
D'Lo.
Your personal favorite, Al Horford. So there's a couple players that are going to be moving around potentially this offseason that maybe the Bucks could. Not Naz Reid. I think a Nickeil Alexander-Walker could be a good pickup for you guys.
Yeah, something like that. They need, honestly, in terms of fit, I don't know what the salary, like I'm not a big salary cap guy. I don't study on it. I do study, like I understand how it works, but like I don't know how the numbers would work out, but like low-key, Al, as a Brook Lopez replacement and what he can bring to your team, Al Horford on the Bucks, like just for 1 year as a guy who can be a solid defender, stretch the floor, hit threes. I think that's a good fit next to Giannis because they're going to need it. The Bucks are going to need a center. We were talking about the Lakers. They're going to need someone to take the 5 role because I think their plan is to let Brook Lopez walk. I think
another notable center is Clint Capella. Clint Capella will be a free agent this summer too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that they can do. There's a lot of things that they can do.
So you think the priority then is to get a center then?
I think they need a center. Yeah.
All right. Well, get ready to learn Clint Capella basketball then.
Ooh.
In 2025, by the way.
In the big 2025.
Well, and then the big 2026.
Yeah.
The bigger 2026, if you will. So you think he's staying put?
I think he's staying put. I don't think he's going anywhere. If he gets traded, I'd be thoroughly shocked.
Okay, but if you had to pick a team, which team would go somewhere else? Yeah.
I want him in San Antonio so badly. Like I need it. I need it at this point more than air itself. Like Giannis in a Spurs jersey would move mountains. Fox, Giannis, Wemby,
the corpse of Chris Paul.
The corpse of Chris Paul. I don't know who else would still be there. Would like Devin Vassell still be there?
You can't. Okay, here's my thing. You just can't get rid of Stephon Castle. I'd get rid of Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan and like that. Thanos.
Basically, everybody's tradable except for Fox, Wemby, and Castle. In
my opinion, yes.
In your eyes, yeah.
So, well, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen either. But the Spurs are it would totally actually would be detrimental to my Wemby top 3 MVP candidate narrative, because then you can't have 2 top 3 MVP candidates on sharing one team, much less sharing a front court. So whatever. Yeah. It's fine, though. I'm willing to make sacrifices of, being wrong. That's what I do. I'm so honorable. That's what I do. But before we go, we mentioned it earlier, that's it. That's the end of the season. So, do you have a favorite moment at all from this season where you're just like, that was really cool?
I guess I got to go with the Bucks winning the NBA Cup. I mean, that was my championship this year. And that's probably the last time, realistically, I'm ever going to see Giannis raise a trophy or win anything meaningful in the NBA. So that has to be my favorite moment of the season.
It's okay. He's gonna win an Olympic bronze in 2028.
Yeah.
Darvin Ham undefeated
in the NBA Cup.
Where does he rank in the all-time rankings? We'll talk about that.
Torian Prince, 2-time NBA Cup champion.
We'll talk about that probably in some random episode over the summer when we ran out of things to talk about. But That's it. That's it for today's episode of the Professional Hate Watching Association. We will be back soon next week as a kind of a precursor to NBA free agency starts Monday, June 30th. So best believe we're going to be there to talk about it. Next episode, free agency conversations. We're going to talk about who we think is going where and who we think is staying put. We've already talked about Giannis. KD already did one for us, and then NFL player disguised as basketball player Desmond Bane's already on a new team as well. So those 3 dominoes,
the Ashton Hall of the NBA.
Yeah, 2 dominoes have already fallen. Maybe a third, but so many more we got to talk about. So next week we got our free agency special coming up. You do not want to miss it. But until then, my name is Ethan, and I'm here with Daniel. That's all for today's episode. We will see you next time.
Peace.